Wow.
Which is really dumb because if you kill all the cells, you idiot, you can't bring them back to life.
Let's get to this.
I had my science teacher told me when I was in like the 10th grade that they could freeze you at absolute zero, and they can pull you right back. Long as you're frozen at absolute zero.
See, he might have graduated from the HOK, so I don't know how much true that.
What I do know is that he was a teacher in one of Detroit's most prolific academic high schools.
Okay, so that's some credibility, but I don't know the answer to that question.
What I would say is it matters what they're talking about because you freeze the body, right? Let's say you freeze the body. You stopping the organs, you stopping the oxygen from going to the brain. The oxygen can't. If you stop the oxygen from going to the brain for 10 minutes, you're gonna be completely dead.
Now, Eric, I went to paramedic school for the Air Force, right? And you are correct biologically.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is now if they hook them up to some type of oxygen machine,
what if they froze at absolute zero?
Listen, if you go asystole, which means your heart stops, it's called asystole. You have to get your heart started within like a couple minutes or you're dead.
Yeah.
Why? Because your brain loses oxygen and you die.
Yeah, when your heart pumps blood and it pumps oxygen with it. And then
what I'm saying is that is this teacher who's because I just don't believe colleges when you're dealing in stuff like science and I just don't believe that they going to graduate a surgeon who just unqualified to do surgery.
I agree with that.
I just don't believe
surgeries.
That,
I would never go under the knife.
Yeah,
if I didn't have faith in them.
Yeah, these people who graduate with high degrees, person who's been through that type of rigor, I don't believe that they're just going to graduate idiots.
Well, would you go to the deli in the supermarket and say, I need an ACL?
I mean, but like I said, a lot of these people it's just like historians. A lot of these people base stuff off theories. It's a process.
Yeah, but Eric, you and Yasha can't perform open brain surgery like Ben Carson.
Yeah.
So Yasha's right. I mean, listen, I've had like 5 surgeries, and trust me, I had faith in them. They weren't a baker.
No. I mean, they're good at their profession. Just because you're a brain surgeon don't mean you know that you can freeze a motherfucker at 0 degrees.
Well, that is true.
You know what I'm saying?
That is true.
I'm just saying because science has to be proven and studied. So if they unfreeze him and he live again, then they can say, oh yes, science proves that this happened. But
if
they
never did it came back unfrozen, I would.
It's just if they never did it yet, it's just a theory. That's all I'm saying. It's not something that they can say that's a fact yet.
Now, would you consider that
when I was in high school in the 90s, what I'm saying is I'm a little older than you guys, right? And I'm saying like back in the 90s when this was told to me, it was told to me by a science teacher who was a science fanatic. You know what I'm saying? Love science.
What was the theory?
Nerd. It wasn't a theory. He just said that people have been frozen at absolute zero, and if you freeze them at absolute zero, you can bring them back. And they were saying how and it was big talk back in the 80s how rich people wanted to be frozen at absolute zero for scientific study.
Well, that's what happened to the woolly mammoths, right?
I guess that I don't know what he's frozen at, so I'm not the one to answer that. But all I'm doing is just telling the story, of my experience a long time ago, and in that experience, this man was projecting these ideas as if those scientists have already done these things.
I mean, now if you're talking about freezing somebody to zero and then bringing them right back, maybe so. But I was saying freezing somebody and then thinking 100 years that you just gonna unfreeze them. I don't know. I can't. I don't know because I'm just saying.
That's what he was talking about.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I don't. All I know enough. I just know enough.
10, 20.
I just know enough. I just know enough you have to breathe. And if your brain don't get a certain amount of air if I'm dying right now, my heart stopped and I don't get oxygen to my brain. If that ambulance don't come get me in 10 minutes, I'm dead. So maybe they know something about that freezing. Maybe the freezing does something that we just don't know. But I'm just saying by me understanding oxygen, you need the shit. So it's like if you in that ice and you ain't breathing, and oxygen not going to your brain, what's keeping him alive? Like, what's keeping him not all the way down?
That would be my thought, but I am so far away from science, you know. As a studier, I just know shit and I hear shit, but I'm not to the point with science to where I'm able to challenge nobody.
But you know what? I'm glad you said that because now I want to look that up. You know what I mean?
I'm not to the point to where I can.
Interesting.
You know, I'm not to the point to where I can say that man was lying. You know,
no, I just have to ask questions. I'm just saying. If he can show me about if he can show me the process of how that body still can maybe get oxygen or how he keeps it alive, I mean, from not dying all the way, then I'd be like, okay. I'm just saying that's just my question about it. Like, if he had an answer to it, then that's fine. But I haven't heard his whole thing how he's talking. You know, I'm just
we was in like
touched absolute zero. What would happen if you touched absolute zero? Absolute zero is the theoretically lowest temperature, reaching 273.15 degrees Celsius. If you were to touch this temperature, what would happen to you? Imagine touching a metal block at absolute zero with your hand. Initially, you wouldn't feel anything. You'd only hear a sizzling sound as your skin makes contact with the metal, much like grilling meat. However, the extreme cold would start penetrating your skin, sapping away all your heat. First, it would freeze and damage the nerves on the surface of your skin and some superficial muscle tissues. At this point, you'd begin to experience intense pain. This is because the metal at absolute zero rapidly drops the surrounding temperature. The water in the air and in your skin would quickly freeze, creating countless sharp ice crystals that would pierce your skin. Next, the blood vessels near the contact area would start to constrict, leading to a drastic reduction in blood flow and oxygen supply. Deeper layers of muscle tissue would begin to break down, resulting in extensive frostbite and widespread necrosis. Unfortunately, you wouldn't be able to escape from this frozen metal, much like what happens when you lick a cold metal pole in extremely low temperatures, but the pain would be much more severe. In the end, you'd have no choice but to visit a hospital. While extreme low temperatures may sound terrifying, this principle is the basis of cryonics, where theoretically at 196 degrees Celsius, we could press the pause button on life and preserve a human body for millions of years. What are your thoughts on this? What would happen if you touched absolute zero?